Pledge of Allegiance, led by Ms. Rosigno's 6th grade class. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Born and unborn.
Superintendent Walker, would you like to speak a little bit about the goings-on in Ms. Rosigno's class?
Yes, I wanted to thank Ms. Rosigno's class for their wonderful recitation of the pledge and share that currently their homeroom are wrapping up a unit on expressions and equations where students have been engaged in various activities to help deepen their understanding about algebra and how important and helpful that is to analyze mathematical relationships in the real world as they prepare for their upcoming unit on ratios, rates, and proportions. Also wanted to share anecdotally that I had a chance to spend a couple hours at PVC on Tuesday morning walking around and visiting classrooms with Mr. Plotkin, and as we're walking down the hallway we pass Ms. Rosigno's room and hear a tremendous amount of noise coming out of the classroom. So of course we're just trained and naturally that we look at each other and think, all right, let's poke our heads in and see what's going on. So we had a chance to visit for a while, and the noise was coming from Ms. Rosigno leading the class through a math game where students were working together in teams and just incredibly vociferously supportive of each other and of each team as they would come up and share their thinking around their mathematical problem solving. So it was really just an example of what a dynamic classroom environment she's created there for our students. So I wanted to share that and thank her for her leadership.
Cool. All right, and so now recommended action that the Board of Education approves the agenda as presented. So moved. Second. On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. All right, and now we will head into my president's report. So thank you very much for the community who's joining us in person and those who are watching via live stream. I have a few items that I'd like to highlight tonight. The PVC musical, Aladdin Jr., will be held on March 25th and 26th here at the high school auditorium. So I'm hoping that we get lots of people out to come see our students perform. I know they have been very eagerly anticipating this. It's been I think 2 years now that we've been waiting to be able to put this show on. So at CET, the PTA is going to be hosting their March Principals Coffee on March 10th at 9 a.m. They will have a general membership meeting on March 16th at 8 p.m. and the link for that is available on the cetpta.com website and through Ms. Bianchi's weekly newsletter. They will also be doing their annual fundraiser, the Bunny Hop Around Town, and that will be held the evening of April 2nd. So you can email cetpta@gmail.com for details. And then finally, their April Principals Coffee will be happening on April 7th at 9 a.m. So the PTA is also arranged at CET to have the Lost and Found outside the front doors of CET on the first Tuesday of every month from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. throughout the end of the year. So please come take a look. As someone who just recently had a student at CET, I know I always found a lot in that Lost and Found every time I stopped by. Next up, as you know, we are also in the midst of budget season, and our traditional budget Saturday meeting will be held on March 19th. We are beginning bright and early at 7:45 a.m. here in the community room. We'll be sending out an agenda for the day very soon, so be on the lookout for that. And I hope that our community members can join us to learn more about the proposed 2022-23 budget. And lastly, candidate petitions for the Board of Education are due to the district clerk by April 18th at 5 p.m. Candidate packets are available on the district website or by contacting the district clerk, and they are also available right outside the district office, correct?
Correct.
So if you are interested in board service, we would encourage you to take a look at the BOE tab on the district website. And please don't hesitate to reach out to any of the current trustees. We are more than happy to sit down and speak to anyone about the wonderful experience of board service. So that concludes my president's report. We will now open up hearing of the public. Speakers may use the podium to address the board on school district matters, and we ask that you state your name. And you can provide your email and or address on the sign-up sheet that is provided at the podium. And please, if you could just limit your comments to 3 minutes. So if anyone would like to speak.
Thankfully, there's no microphone here, thankfully. What I'd like to suggest to the chairwoman that you have a clock. Almost every public meeting we've ever been in has a clock, so speakers know where to stand in terms of time. You don't have one. I'd like to also bring you the good news, which you've probably heard about. 3 extremists on the San Francisco School Board were fired by the public because of their idiocy, as were 3 people on the school board of Lower Marion County, Pennsylvania, which is a district that looks exactly like this. And these are extremely left-wing areas that just had enough. I don't have my signs here. I would like to thank Denise Harrington Cohen for a presentation last week. It was, or the week before, whenever it was, thoroughly professional, easily understandable, well done, and it contained these important caveats. Thanks to this terrible leadership we have in the country right now, we have a 7.5% inflation rate. It's the worst inflation rate in 50 years. I lived through that period. Devastating. Devastating. Especially for people with savings and older people. 7% inflation rate. If I'm a union leader, and I was, I'm going to jump on you as soon as their contracts are 7.5%. We have a 9.1% producer price index, which means that's the cost of producing goods, making goods. That's the cost to business people. I'd also like to thank her for one other thing. That she brought up the fact of the buses, that this state, which is mandating electric buses by 2027, you can't use electric buses in Croton, and the price has gone through the roof. So I'd like to thank her for that candor. I'd also like to thank Tracy Borges for professionalism in handling foils. There'll be more. In terms of one of your board members, Joshua Diamond, as we all know, he has problems with white Christian Europeans. I want you to keep this in mind. In the Holocaust Museum in DC, if you go down the first floor, first thing you see are 50 American Army Division flags. Those majority white Christian descendants of Europeans are the ones that liberated the concentration camps in the western part of Germany, and the Russians came to the other side. There were also black soldiers, Jewish soldiers, Mohammedan soldiers, and here really like this one. The Polish army had an airborne division, 4 infantry divisions. These are free Poles fighting against the Nazis. I don't know quite what a pansexual or a animal sexual hunter is, but I'm going to find out. I would like to thank the assistant. This is my last sentence. I would like to thank the assistant chairman, the most mild but professional of chairmen, for pursuing the matter of board conduct in public statements, because I believe there's a lot more public statements regarding his individual out there, and he doesn't have the judicial temperament to be on any board. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak for public comment?
Hi, I'm Kenna Weiner. To the administrative staff, BOE trustees, and student liaisons, thank you. Thank you for your time, energy, and talents during this trying time. Your job seems to be getting more difficult instead of easier, but you have the support and gratitude of so many in our community who want to continue the work of centering our schools around educational excellence. And a personal thank you to everyone involved in continuing the UPK program for the 2022-2023 school year. I'm so glad that another 36 families will benefit from this amazing service, and I hope that it can become truly universal in the district in the future. again, I just want to say thank you. I'm really appreciative of all of you.
We will have a second hearing of public session at the end of our meeting. And with that, I will turn it over to Superintendent Walker for his superintendent's report.
Great, thank you, Sarah. It's always my pleasure to get a chance to share some of the outstanding and wonderful activities that our students and staff have been involved in our schools since the last time we were together for a business meeting. And as we started to do last month, this aspect of the presentation will be posted on the website beginning tomorrow for anyone who is unable to be here virtually or otherwise this evening to take a look. So I wanted to share first the images from the title slide actually depict some of the celebration of the 100th day of school at CET, which we know is always a big day and an exciting day. Enjoyed seeing Mrs. Bianchi, Mr. Campanero dressed up in some of their finest, as well as so many of our students and staff celebrating that exciting day at CET late in February. Also wanted to make sure that we again recognize and celebrate the accomplishments of our valedictorian of the class of 2022, Emma Castro, as well as our co-salutatorians, Adora Chen and Gwen Labate, three truly, obviously bright, obviously dedicated, outstanding scholars who depict and represent everything that's wonderful about our system and about the young people who come through our system. I wanted to share that I had a chance to be there in Ms. Duback's office when she told them of this recognition, and they were genuinely shocked. And then, so the first reaction was surprise, and then they just hugged each other. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful moment. And I got a chance to say to them, I hope you take a moment now because I want you to remember this feeling for the rest of your lives. They've earned this over their entire school career, but particularly the past couple of years, as trying as those years have been. These three young ladies have shown themselves to continue to be just phenomenal scholars and great young people. So we congratulate them again and look forward to hearing their speeches at graduation in just a few short months. Wanted to share also, we continue with our new initiative at Tiger Welcome, and welcome Kaylin Ward, Office Assistant in the PPS office in the district office. What we learned about Kaylin was that she likes to bake. She's a crocheter and has knitted several blankets, and also loves to spend time with her 10-year-old Rottweiler named Greta. So I get a chance every time I see Kaylin to ask how Greta's doing, which is one of the highlights of my day. I also had a chance to announce and recognize today Ruth Matute, new aide at CET. She joined the team in January, coming from the Mount Pleasant School District. She also works in the Visitor Center at CET, and Ruth is a wonderful and dedicated mom and enjoys spending time with her college-age daughter, as well as her elementary school-age son. So we welcome both Ruth and Kaylin to the team through the Tiger Welcome. Also wanted to share, of course, that we had a great time in all of the schools during Spirit Week, including the celebration of Kindness Rocks at CET. Again, some great costumes there. If anyone hasn't seen Mrs. Bianchi and Mr. Campanero dressed up in their finest rock and roll outfit, I have a picture somewhere that I'll make sure I share. If you haven't seen it, CHHS Spread Love Week was also terrific and really well received by the team here. And PVC and the district office participated in Multiples Day, and so I wanted to share a couple of images there. First, of course, of Ms. Scollins and Mr. Plotkin dressed up, members of the team and student body at PVC there, as well as the district office. That's the three of us, by the way, dressing up as our best Dr. Blair impersonation, complete with vest and loose-fitting tie and shirt. So that was our tribute to Dr. Blair during that week as well. So we continue to have a great time doing what we do. Also wanted to share that since the last time we were together for the business meeting, several of us from the board and administration had a chance to enjoy a really wonderful and endearing performance of Annie at the high school last month. So I wanted to thank everyone who was involved in that, from the preparations, the planning, the production, the sets. The cast, of course, was wonderful, phenomenal, and talented. So I look forward to continuing to see the growth of that program over the course of time. The musical at the high school, but kudos again, bravo and brava to all of our performers in Annie. And as Sarah mentioned earlier, looking forward on the 25th and 26th of this month to seeing Aladdin Jr. the long-awaited musical production from PVC. So we look forward to getting a chance to see those performers as well. Also celebrated, although it was during our winter recess, School Bus Driver Appreciation Day. So we thank them again for everything that they do, often really unsung heroes on our team who do a tremendous job getting our Tigers to and from school safely every day in some really interesting conditions. Quite a bit. They are really part of the backbone of our team, and so we thank them and celebrate them on the 23rd and really every day. Also wanted to mention, and there was a K-12 that went out earlier today that thanks to Dr. Blair and Mr. Cavallari and others, our online registration platform has been launched effective immediately. So if you are the parent of an incoming kindergarten student or any incoming student new to the district, please make sure to check out our website to enroll online your children, provide the appropriate information. If there's any support that you need, please feel free to reach out to us, both either at district office or within any of our schools at the contact information that's shared there. We look forward to that advancement, hopefully in streamlining the process of registration for all of our new coming Tiger families. Of course, we're all very well aware that this is the second day now of this week. Beginning yesterday, the masks were no longer required to be worn by students, staff, or visitors, either in our schools or on our school buses. I'll be sharing some updated information with our community as promised tomorrow on the guidance that we received late on Tuesday from the Department of Health. But I just wanted to take a moment again to thank the board, the staff, the students, parents, everyone who was involved in allowing this transition to have gone as smoothly as it went. From my perspective, it really couldn't have gone any better these past couple of days, and that's a testament to the engagement, the interest, and the support coming from the households of all of our students and within our schools as well. So deeply, deeply proud to get a chance to be a part of this tremendous team. And I want to take just a moment in the interest of transparency to share some of my goals as the superintendent, as part of my accountability to the board and to the community. I had a chance to develop 5 goals beginning from my first day, January 4th, through the end of June and really into the summer. And so this, again, in the interest of folks who want to take a look at it and reach out to me and share their thoughts, is posted on the website now in greater detail. But I did want to take a moment just to go through these with you. And so there are 5 of them really centered around the idea of how can we make sure that there's a smooth transition of leadership between Dr. O'Connell and myself, benefiting all aspects of the school district during the middle of what's a really complicated school year for everybody. So first and foremost, this job is about visibility and relationships. And so I have a goal and priorities centered around that, being present in the community and in our schools, getting a chance to know people and them to know me. Providing leadership to what is a wonderful opportunity for our system in the development of a new strategic coherence plan. And so we're engaged in that already and look forward to bringing some ideas and some ideas for concepts around support for that to the board and the community in the next few weeks. Evaluating our communication as a system, looking at the areas in which we are engaging well all members of our school district community and areas where we think we can do better. And so we've started already to launch some new concepts there, centering around that idea of how do we build on the already existing sense of community, that we're all Tigers, that's what unites all of us. And so from our messaging to a Tiger welcome, you'll be seeing some new superintendent video update. Mr. Cavallari has been working hard to make me look good on camera, which is a full-time job and then some. So starting next week, you'll get a chance to see the first of those, which are really kind of informal conversations and updates about some of the great things happening in our district. As the public's already seen, we've had some discussion between the administration and the board with regard to goal setting as a district, as a board, as administrative leaders, and so I look forward to continuing to put energy behind that concept and implementation of some potential updated processes over the next few months, and to provide leadership, of course, to the development of the budget alongside Denise and some of our other phenomenal team members, and the selection and collaboration with the architectural firm that will be helping us to move forward with our 5-year plan, building condition survey, turf field feasibility study, air conditioning in our kindergarten wing, and some other priorities over the next few years for the district. So if you're interested in seeing the entire document, please feel free. You can use the link attached to this presentation or look at my page on the website. And so if anyone has any feedback as you get a chance to think about my work and the district's trajectory over the next few months, in relationship to my goals, please feel free to reach out to me and provide some candid feedback. I look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will now turn it over to Lucas Valentine, our student ex officio member.
Thank you. So outside the Croton Harmon High School library upstairs, there is a bulletin board that contains the various clubs held at our high school. Juniors are currently starting the application process to join our chapter of the National Honor Society. Student Faculty Congress's Acceptance Committee is starting to work with Mel Powers of Powerful Communications. SFC, or Student Faculty Congress, will also be hosting a ping pong tournament on March 9th with proceeds going to the Greg Rodriguez Fund. Also, next Wednesday, March 9th, spring sports registration is due, with the spring sports season officially beginning on Monday, March 14th. On Wednesday, March 16th, PSA 10 will be held. On the same day, seniors will learn of various scholarship opportunities during their chat period, and Student Faculty Congress is currently planning lunchtime activities that will be held during Earth Week in April. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lucas. All right, we'll now move into new business. I will start off with the first reading of the policy 5152, admission of non-resident students, revision for first reading. So I will turn it over briefly to our policy chair, Neil Haber.
Thank you. What you have for consideration is a revision to policy 5152, admissions of non-resident students. It provides for some changing of certain eligibility requirements for either future residents and for former residents, that is people who have moved out of the district during a school year, and it's really an adjustment of what our policies had been based on consideration and discussion by the committee, and also a discussion and changes in some changes in the tuition rate, either a special tuition rate or free tuition for whatever circumstances are addressed in the policy. There are also other changes that have been included based on statutory and regulatory requirements, all of which have been reviewed by council. The policy obviously merits your review. You can bring questions to the policy committee through me before our next meeting, in which case we'll adopt it, and most probably, absent objection, and most probably, well, it doesn't say, it will take effect, I guess it takes effect immediately. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Neil. So if anyone has any questions on that policy, please reach out to the policy committee. And now we will move into donations. Recommended action that the Board of Education gratefully accepts a donation in the amount of $500 from the Croton Police Association as a contribution towards a scholarship at the Croton Harmon High School.
So moved. Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Recommended action that the Board of Education gratefully accepts a donation in the amount of $200 from Eric Kohler and New York Life as a contribution to the general fund at Carrie E. Tompkins Elementary School.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Recommended action that the Board of Education gratefully accepts a donation in the amount of $1,000 from Mark Franzoso as a contribution to the Erica Eleskis Memorial Scholarship at Croton Harmon High School.
So moved. Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Recommended action that the Board of Education gratefully accepts a donation in the amount of $6,750 from the Croton Harmon High School PTSA for various scholarship awards at the Croton Harmon High School.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Recommended action that the Board of Education gratefully accepts a donation in the amount of $500 from the Croton Democratic Committee for the Francis Allen Scholarship at Croton Harmon High School.
So moved.
Second?
On the question?
I'm sorry, who's second?
Iris.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Iris,
sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Recommended action that the Board of Education gratefully accepts a donation in the amount of $500 from the Croton Democratic Committee, care of Carol Shaughnessy, as a contribution to the John L. Habib Scholarship at Croton Harmon High School.
So moved.
Second?
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Recommended action that the Board of Education gratefully accepts a donation in the amount of $1,278.99 from the Croton Harmon Education Foundation, chef, to purchase a Cricut maker and iPad for the Home and Careers class at Pierre Van Cortlandt Middle School.
So moved. Second?
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Recommended action that the Board of Education gratefully accepts a donation in the amount of $4,000 by the Croton Harmon Booster Club, care of Sue DeLasho, as a contribution to the Croton Booster Club scholarships at the Croton Harmon High School.
So moved. I was going for second.
On the question?
Yeah, I guess, unlike for some of these, we have for specific scholarships. This is a donation for several different scholarships, a number of them. I believe, but I'm double checking here, I think our supporting material may indicate what those scholarships are. Do we?
They're up on the screen.
Right there.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
So similar to the earlier one from the PTSA.
although,
Several different scholarships that was broken down.
well, okay, but the PTSA actually listed which ones they were. We don't have in the resolution how that $4,000 will be in the resolution. I'm not talking.
This wasn't in the resolution.
Yeah, the others weren't in the
Oh, I see. Okay, I apologize. All right. That's fine.
Okay, sorry, who's second?
Iris
Thank
seconded.
you, Iris.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Thank you very, very much to all of our many donors this month. I mean, we're getting to the time of the year that we're getting ready for scholarships for our high school students, and we are so grateful for the many community members who are taking the time and their funds to support our students. So thank you.
And can I just add, as a parent who has had a senior recently in the district, I can tell you that every single student, well, several students end up getting scholarships, and it is just like a joy to them, the excitement when they get to hear their names read out. So our donors make this possible, and I just want to especially thank them for doing that.
All right, and now we will move into instructional personnel. Recommended action that the Board of Education approves the instructional personnel requests for an unpaid leave of absence as presented.
So
moved.
Second.
On the question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Recommended action resolved that the Board of Education of the Croton Harmon Union Free School District hereby approves part-time teachers providing substitute coverage to be paid for such substitute coverage at the part-time teacher's hourly rate.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. We will now move into the consent agenda. Recommended actions that the Board of Education approves all items in the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Can you give me just a moment?
Absolutely.
Okay.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. We are now into the close of the meeting, so we are now here at our second hearing of the public. Again, we ask that anyone who would like to speak, if you state your name at the podium, and then if you could either leave your email address or address at the sign-up sheet with our district clerk, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Anybody else who wants to go before me? No. Ma'am.
Mr. Riley, would it be helpful for you if I put up my pen or something so you can know when you're close to your time?
I think I
I'm
can
sorry.
put up a clock here. Hold on. Let me just see.
Hey, this is
There you
great.
go.
Would that
There
help?
we go. Thank
Oh,
you.
let me go back. You didn't start yet,
Okay.
so. Let me know when you're ready and I'll start the clock.
Second Lacrosse. For those two numbers, you're gonna destroy the budget here, you're gonna destroy this village budget, which is more than $1 million out of whack. You have a good person to deal with it. These are the names I wanna remind you of. The reason people do not trust you with handling race, because you've proven untrustworthy in the past, in the last year and a half. These are the 3 consultants you've used. This guy wrote the curriculum for this state, David Kirkland. Says it's CRT, critical race theory. Says it. I was in his seminar when he was doing it. Live. He said it. Natalie Zwerger, nut job. And Marissa Raganese, brought in here by Mr. Griffin in person. BLM organizer in Yorktown, nut job. That's why we don't trust you with issues of race. There was a meeting of the Diversity Committee of the village. The village has the Diversity Committee. It was held 2 days ago. Who did they bring in? The 1619 Project, a discredited project by an op-ed editor of the New York Times. That's after they fired their op-ed editor, and they fired their editorial editor, and they fired 3 other good reporters. They brought in the 1619 Project. We believe this school district's headed for collision course on race. I'd like to bring up this name. Susan Rosenberg was the paymaster for Black Lives Matter. You know, Black Lives Matter is now shut down in 16 states. People in this village paid money to Black Lives Matter and bought paraphernalia from Black Lives. I urge you to get your money back, if you can. Black Lives Matter is a Marxist. That means they believe in revolution. Violent revolution. Marxist. They're also a racist. Marxist is racism. If you read Karl Marx, I'll give you the quote sometime if you're interested, is racist. And now it's corrupt. $100 million corrected, mostly by shaking down with large corporations. Now they have there are 2 lesbian founders. I guess they have personal problems in their families, so they take it out on black men and on nuclear families. They hate nuclear families, right? She's taken off and bought 4 houses worth millions of dollars. Where the hell did she get the money? This $60 million unaccounted for in Black Lives Matter, right? This community wrapped their arms around Black Lives Matter. I believe they took an oath, a Black Lives Matter oath, down here in this park, which brings me to an oath that students take in PVC. They take the Anti-Defamation League oath. I know the Anti-Defamation League. My friend used to work there. Used to be a great organization. Now it stinks. They just redefined what racism is. There's only one kind of white racism. So if a kid in PVC takes this oath against racism, looks up the Anti-Defamation League, they'll think that's okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the clock. Very ingenious.
Would anyone else like to speak for hearing of the public? Thank you very much. We will now move into board reports. First up, we have the Advocacy Committee. Omar is not here this evening, but would either of the other Advocacy Committee members like to speak briefly on your last meeting?
I don't know what to say. No, advocacy, at our February 17th meeting, we adopted a resolution dealing with issues relating to COVID. We obviously have had guidance from the governor's office subsequent to that date, which kind of makes that resolution less than vital at this point. We don't know if it will be in the future. We trust that we have and will continue to have guidance coming from the Department of Health of the state and the Department of Health of the county. As far as advocacy is concerned, we did receive communication earlier today regarding from West Putt regarding certain advocacy initiatives, and maybe it's from NISBA, I'm not sure, but I'm trying to pull it up now. But we will have to deal with that because now we're going to get into issues of budget. We know that the first executive budget has been released by the governor, and obviously there's work to be done on that, probably less than we've had in other years, but we will have to be on top of that through our through West Putt and through NISBA, and we will see. That is pretty much, I guess the only other thing which maybe is advocacy or maybe is board development is we also received a message yesterday concerning, from NISBA, concerning the state convention, which is going to be October 27, 28, and 29 in Syracuse, and they asked for board presentations if there was anything that any district wants to present as far as, being a presenter. I know in past years we had kind of talked about that. I don't know if there's anything in the district that we feel we would like to become, out there to, talk to our colleagues about. We should consider that. And that may or may not be advocacy, it may be development, it may be communications, but something to think about.
I think you have an excellent superintendent.
There you go. All right, thank you very much, Neil. I will now turn it over to Iris for board development, or actually turn it over there.
You start.
Okay, and actually I was only half joking. I do know I've attended some of the NISBA conventions, and they've had sessions on how to select a superintendent, and particularly since we had a board that was a blend of new trustees and seasoned trustees, I think it might be something that we may want to consider, helping other districts figure out how do you go through this process and come out with such an excellent product, or not a product, but
I'll take it.
We need you.
Yeah.
But it is something that we actually, I think, could share with other districts, and it might be valuable. So I would urge everyone to consider it. With respect to board development, Mary, are you going to talk about what you're going to do?
Okay, sure.
Okay, I'll let Mary start.
Okay. Just wanted to give you a heads up that I'm going to be emailing the board and administration.
Mary, can you speak?
Oh, sorry. Just wanted to give you a heads up. I'll be emailing everyone who's at the retreat, and Lucas, you as well, just to initiate getting your feedback on the last retreat. And we, if you could return that by Friday, March 18th, and then we will bring a summary of the feedback back to the board administration at the next work session at the end of March.
Thank you. And I did see the email you sent about a possible board retreat. I just haven't, unfortunately, had a chance to go through my mail that way.
No, you're fine. I had just sent an email. West Putt, I think, had sent something saying that they were also available to facilitate board retreats. And as a new board member, we just went through that process with BOCES, and which was, you know, I don't have anything negative to say about that, but just as a point of comparison, I was suggesting maybe it would be nice to see how someone else does it.
Oh, thank you. So the only other thing that from board development, I know we sent around a doodle for our session with Mel. I hope to get the information back from Tracy, and then I can let everyone know what date that is set up for with Powerful Communications. And then that's everything that's on my, social media. One of the things that board development discussed was possibly at the board reorganization meeting in July, that the board members this is something to think about, whether we want to sit down and come up with at that meeting operating principles, sort of like when we were in the retreat and they gave us, we started the retreat by saying these are the operating principles that every board member agrees to follow. We would do the same thing as a board every July, re-up what are going to be our operating proceedings this year, operating principles this year, and particularly with respect to social media. That was one of the ones that came up, was something that we may want to consider. So we just wanted everyone to start thinking about that, so that in July you can decide if you want to create this document, and then it would be posted on the website, obviously, so that the community is also aware about operating principles.
Good, thank you very much, Iris. Josh, communications?
The Communications Committee last met on February 15. There's a few things that have happened since then. The Croton Reflections went out. Croton which should have been in everybody's mailboxes by now. I know that I received mine. If you haven't, if members of the public want to receive it and haven't received it, please contact the district office and we'll get you onto the mailing list. We talked about the advocacy items that are out there that might require some communications. That is still in flux, and we stand ready if there's anything that we need to do on that. One of the things that's upcoming for the Communications Committee that we had set on the back burner, I think it was almost 2 years ago now, is the design refresh, which is looking at our logos, our webpage, you know, everything about our branding to kind of bring it into consistency and perhaps modernize it a little bit. We're in very, very early stages on that. So that we're going to be discussing that in the next meeting. And I think is there anything else that came? Oh, that's the other thing, is there's a board communication survey. I believe it's still open. We are starting to collate the results and I understand what it means, but I do believe that the survey is still open now.
I actually think the survey may have closed, but perhaps we didn't officially. I know we had given a closing date on it, but perhaps it actually hasn't closed on the Survey Monkey.
Okay.
But you know, thank you to the community that did respond to that survey, and we'd like to. We're starting to gather and sort of look through all of that, all of the responses, and put together the data on that.
From the data that we've seen so far, you know, there's two kinds of data that came out of this survey. One is the sort of quantitative data, the answer to the multiple choice questions. Understanding that is a lot easier than going through all of the text commentary that came, much of which was very useful. And we want to make sure that we give it the attention that is due. So we will be taking some time together in the committee to work on that.
All right.
Oh, and our next meeting is on Tuesday the 8th.
Thank you very much, Josh. And again, as I said, thank you so much to the community members who responded to that survey. It's very useful for us as a board as we look to improve our communications with the district or with the community. So now we will head into polling of the board. I'll just hop in real quick with a couple of items. I know West Putt had sent out a couple of emails earlier today They will be doing an Ed Law series. It'll be a 2-day series on the 24th and the 31st of March. I believe in the morning from like 9 to 11:30. I would encourage any board members who want to take part of that. Please just let Tracy know. She can sign you up through Westpet for that. I think it would be a very informative session. And then they also have Westpet's advocacy group. They will be doing their monthly advocacy meeting on March 7th at 6:30, and that's a Zoom. It's on Zoom. So if anyone wants to join that, anyone from the district, I know Neil generally is our Neil and I serve as Westpet liaisons, but I would encourage anybody to sign on to that. It's really, I think, very useful to see what all of the area school districts are talking about and where the advocacy focus is currently right now. So please check those out.
Sarah, can I just ask you, is the law series recorded? If so, you register for it, you can see it later.
I actually don't know if it's recorded, but I can certainly reach out to Stacey Agona and get back to you on that. And anyone else have anything for bullying?
I may have missed when I'm supposed to talk about this, but I wanted to just give an update on the CHS building planning council. No, that's okay. Good. So yeah, the building planning council for the high school met today. It was a really great meeting. We covered a few things. The first being we kicked off the nomination and selection of the Croton Harmon High School Hall of Distinguished Graduates Selection Committee process. So I guess it's been going on for a number of years. It's right outside here if you ever want to stop and look at it. So there is a form that first the committee looked at in terms of thinking about how to update the language on the form to tie in the candidates' accomplishments to also the profile of a Croton Harmon graduate. So how to add language to help get that out of the people who are nominating the candidate. So that was really useful. And students are also at this meeting, so it was great to hear their feedback. And then we broke up into our subcommittees, which, just to remind everyone, there's 2 committees. One is focusing on stress relief for students, and the other is focusing on teacher-student feedback, so related to the courses. So we broke up and began the work on those, which will continue in the future. So.
Anyone else?
Oh, I should just say, and sorry, the nomination forms will be coming out, I believe soon, and they'll be putting it out in the Gazette. So if you have anybody that you know who graduated from the Croton district, you can nominate the person, and you just fill out the form, and so that will be posted to the Gazette. It will be somewhere on the village website through K-12 and also social media and alumni websites. So look for that.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else for polling?
I will just say, regrettably, CET Building Planning Council met today, but I was so busy at work I did not get to go, so I presume they were continuing on their discussions that I reported on last month, but I don't know, I'll find out when I get the minutes.
Anyone else?
So I just actually wanted to, as you know, this evening, before we met before the board meeting, we had an opportunity to do a informal session with anyone that was interested in running for the board, and we had a couple of people turn out, so that was really nice. But I don't know if we want to consider if we want to do another one, because we really ran out of time because this meeting was beginning. So I don't know what everyone thinks about maybe doing one before the work session in March.
Yeah, happy to do that.
Yeah. Do you think we should, because people seem to have quite a few questions about what it is we do as trustees, and we wanted to really make sure we gave them as much information as possible.
So Tracy, I think we have a unanimous, okay, I'll reserve.
Sure.
24.
Yeah.
And so that was one thing. And then the other thing I wanted to ask is there anything for the parking lot? Because we haven't done that in a while. Are there any topics or discussions that you would want the board officers to try and filter into the work sessions, either this year or even if it's filled into next year because we can't fit it in now? If you can start thinking about those topics and let us know at a board meeting, and we can certainly start building towards that. I don't know if anyone has anything now.
Can you give me, go ahead.
Yeah, I would love to see a work session dedicated to extracurriculars, like athletics and the arts programs and the different clubs, if that's possible. I don't know if there's a session that's included in now, but I'd love to just, outside of the classroom student life, I would love that.
You got that, Trace?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, and I wanted to add, I would love like a comprehensive overview of the social emotional program that we have and the challenges that our students are facing, just kind of combined together in an overview that's digestible. It comes up in a lot of different ways, but as a new board member, I don't feel like I have a full picture of not only what's facing our students that's specific to our time period that we need to know about and can be informed about, but also what programs we're putting into place and what the expectation is on the outcomes of their social emotional learning, their mental health. What's the expectation? Thank you.
There are a few items that are still I believe are still on the parking lot, some of which are underway, and some of which I think are scheduled as a revisit from something we already did. Are we, I think the only one that doesn't have a date is the one on continuing a positive, thriving environment, which was about staff and faculty morale. And I think now would probably be a good time to.
I think the problem we ran into with that one is how do you schedule, how do you have a work session on that?
Yeah, let's revisit it.
I think that was one of the hiccups a couple of months ago when I remember talking with Debbie about that. So maybe we'll talk and see.
Yeah, I don't know what the right approach is. I just noticed that it's still here, and I know we've had a couple of informal discussions about it, but definitely something to think about.
What is currently slated for the remaining work sessions of the year?
We don't have all of the, we don't have all of the remaining work sessions slated. There are some that are set out for specific things. Sorry, I actually had it open earlier today. So look at like our May, our April, May, and June work sessions are set. We do in April we do the code of conduct review along with the BOCES budget vote. The May is our 10-year celebration, retirement, 20 years of service, national board recognition. It's also the budget vote day. And then in June we do our volunteer recognition during that work session. So we right now I believe tentatively have set for our March work session is going to be on technology. So we're going to be hearing from Dr. Blair. So yeah, we actually are scheduled out for the rest of the year. Now that I'm looking at the calendar, we are scheduled out for the rest of the year. But we'll be looking into seeing if there are items that we can pair with some of these things, or things that we can begin to plan for the coming year. Yeah.
Is that okay?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Completely unrelated to that, Iris and I actually were at the Black Cow this Saturday, and had very little time to just chatter amongst ourselves because we had several community members stop by just to introduce themselves, and also to express concerns about the situation in the Ukraine, and reaching out to our students and making sure that they were supported in whatever they were processing. But I would say that that was a successful LECAL. We were actually busy the whole time, so that was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you to those community members who came out, and I would encourage you all to please take advantage of that. You don't have to come with a specific topic. I thought it was refreshing that 2 people stopped by just to introduce themselves and to get to know us a little bit and for us to get to know them. So thank you very much.
I would concur.
That's wonderful. Does anyone else have anything to pull in? All right, so then we will move into items needed for the next Board of Education meeting. So our next 2 meetings will be on Budget Saturday, and then our March work session related to technology. So specifically for Budget Saturday, if you could get any questions that you have related to the budget to the board officers. I apologize, Denise. When did I tell you that I would do that by? I think a week by next Thursday.
I thought it was next Thursday.
By the 10th, yeah. So the 10th. So if you could get those questions to board officers by March 10th, that way we can get them to administration and they can begin to plan and work those into the presentations. But otherwise, I'm looking forward to a robust and exciting Budget Saturday as always, where we'll get to hear all of the great things and initiatives that our budget will be supporting our students with. And
Sarah, just before we move on, just all the questions that were asked from the board to administration at the last meeting, I would expect those already are known. That those are questions, right? So we don't have to, everyone doesn't have to repeat those again. So those will be addressed. Okay.
We've got those.
All right. Great. Thanks.
And I to go back one point when I was mentioning the parking lot, just so everyone knows, what happens is when issues or topics are raised by board members, it's then placed into what we call the parking lot. But what happens is we will then open up a spreadsheet where you'll be able to put in the questions that you would want administration to focus on in those topic areas, and that will then inform those presentations. So I guess we'll open up that.
I shared it.
Oh, it's already been shared with you.
Yeah.
So you can start dropping in questions on any of the topics that were raised tonight, and then we can see if they compare nicely with one of the other work sessions. Except tenure.
Does anyone have anything else? Yeah?
Yeah, I guess Iris mentioned a word. And, well, the last word, except tenure.
Well, that one.
Right, I just because I don't recall, when do we have our meeting to go over?
May 17th will be our
No, not the
anniversary
thing celebration. I'm talking about if there's anything that is going to be presented to the board regarding any staff members who are up for tenure, where we had a discussion, I think it was back in December, and if there's any need to reconvene an executive session for the purpose of discussing any of those recommendations. We normally do that probably, at some point prior to the point that we need to provide notification to those where there may be issues. So where do we have that in our calendar? Is that something that we may need to do on March 24th? If there is anything that administration wants to bring to us, I don't want to forget that.
Yep.
And so I mentioned that, and I see Superintendent Walker there because I know I don't want to, I want to make sure we have that. So that may well be something that is required on March 24th if there is anything that we need to consider.
Thank you very much.
All right, if no one has anything else, then recommended action that the Board of Education adjourns this meeting at 8:34 p.m.
So,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Thank you very much to the community who joined us this evening and to those watching in live stream or watching the recording later on. I hope